Hey, it's Keith Miller, host of The Soul of Life. We're in between seasons. Season 2 just wrapped up and Season 3 is starting on July 30th. But I wanted to give you a sneak preview of Episode 2 of Season 3, which comes out August 6th. Episode 1 comes out July 30th, so right around the corner. How do you prepare for an interview with Bessel van der Kolk, right? And this huge figure in our field and really in the wider culture. He's really broken the boundaries of not just our field, being a best-selling writer in the category of all of nonfiction, number 3 on the Washington Post bestseller list in nonfiction. That's a huge distinction. He's broken into the kind of cultural mainstream with his discussion about how our bodies keep the score. And he's pioneered a movement, really, one of a few people leading this movement towards body-based psychological interventions. Not just talking your way through things, not just processing things verbally, but we've got to do something with our bodies in the moment, experientially, and often mindfully, kind of learning mindfulness skills, which is something that my course teaches you to do in your relationship, where you can really see exponential kind of benefit because of how your partner can respond to you when you're responding better to stress and to be able to tolerate distress, which is one of the things we see go hand in hand with couples who are successful, that they're able to tolerate distress when their partner's not able to give them what they need or soothe them, or what we call co-regulate their nervous system. How can you regulate your nervous system, right? So Bessel talks about this. I think you'll enjoy my interview with him. Fascinating guy, super interesting to hear his insight about things like the PTSD diagnosis, the DSM, kind of what he calls a corruption in our field, using these diagnostic criteria that have nothing to do with what a person's subjective mental experiences are. And I think you'll really find this fascinating, and I look forward to sharing this preview with you. Hope you enjoy it. Today I speak with Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma, about his trailblazing work educating a generation of doctors and therapists about how to heal from trauma.
A trauma is something that changes you, that overwhelms you and leaves you speechless, horrified, paralyzed, enraged, out of it, collapsed. Oh my God, nothing you can do, huh?
I wanted to ask Bessel if he thinks the term trauma has become inflated and overused.
There was a New York Times article where they interviewed me about Prince Harry and Andrea Merkel. And I said, no, that's not really a trauma. It sucks. Of course, it's very sad, but that's life.
Van der Kolk tells the story of playing a part in the creation of the post-traumatic stress diagnosis and how it originally focused only on combat stress, completely missing the far more prevalent and more destructive traumas that take place in families.
In the late 1970s, a whole group of us created this diagnosis called PTSD because we were working with Vietnam veterans.
I asked him to offer alternatives to the widespread but woefully imprecise diagnostic terms like narcissism, borderline personality disorder, or antisocial personality disorder, and we discuss our mutual distaste for the DSM, the diagnostic manual used by psychiatrists and licensed professionals.
It's embarrassing, and we should be embarrassed as a profession. We didn't know about child abuse. We didn't know about domestic violence. We didn't know about rape. And in retrospect, I'm just stunned. We could be so ignorant.
Even though Bessel contributed to the development of the DSM versions 3 and 4, he rails against how using labels interferes with genuine observation and connection to each person.
We are part of very corrupt professions. And that when you start giving people labels on the basis of what you can charge an insurance company, right, you really have lost your soul in that way.
We discuss his proposal of a more precise replacement for the PTSD diagnosis called developmental trauma disorder.
Because we don't treat trauma. And we treat the imprint of traumatic experience.
And we dive into breakthrough treatments like psychedelics.
People went very deep into very dark stuff, but they were able to process it and come out of it.
And the often overlooked but highly promising use of neurofeedback.
Doctors make more money giving people drugs than complicated things like neurofeedback.
Using a person's own brainwaves to control a video game that trains the brain to correct nervous system dysregulation that occurs as a result of abuse, neglect, or unprocessed trauma.
But the most important public health issue is the hundreds of thousands of kids who come from abusive and neglectful families who cannot learn in school because they are too freaked out, upset, dysregulated to make friends or to learn. And I think the greatest contribution is to develop an intensive neurofeedback program that goes to many people. And we're actually doing that.
I also asked Bessel about his last conversation with the late Rich Simon, whose suicide in November of 2020 rocked many of us in the mental health professions.
I have never yelled at anybody, or nobody's ever yelled at me professionally, the way that Rich and I yelled at each other. Rich, to my mind, was also an example of a pilgrim that all of us become if we try to heal. And we try various things. And of course, it's devastating that it didn't work for him.
Welcome to The Soul of Life. I'm Keith Miller, and this is episode 2 of season 3, Bessel van der Kolk and The Body Keeps the Score.
Boy, you asked me all these crotchety evoking. I love being crotchety, you know.
No, I won't break, holding on tight to my pride. You say it doesn't seem right that we both feel alone, but we're drifting away and we wait for someone to move toward the pain.
Have you ever been in a position where you know that you or your family member really needs emotional support or marriage enrichment, but you find out how expensive it is to get access to high-quality, out-of-network professionals? Well, I've created the Soul of Life community just for this. At community.souloflifeshow.com, you can join for free and be part of a network of caring and supportive people having conversations that can bring healing to your soul. It's there that you'll find access to psychoeducational courses to deal with stress, anxiety, and relationship conflict. For example, right now I'm offering a 7-week immersive course for couples called Mindful Marriage that walks people through a mindfulness-based stress reduction curriculum I designed that really gives couples in conflict a map towards stability, trust, and deeper intimacy. Just go to community.souloflifeshow.com, check out the courses, and join for free to be part of the Soul of Life community of learners and soul seekers.